Scandal at the altar. Carter and Daphne's wedding derailed by a hidden past. The wedding of Carter Walton and Daphne Rose was supposed to be a triumphant celebration of love at Forrester Creations. After months of anticipation and meticulous planning, the elegant showroom had been transformed into a stunning venue with cascading flowers, soft candlelight, and rows of carefully arranged seating for Los Angeles' elite. Carter, the company's chief operating officer, had finally found the woman he believed was his soulmate. Daphne, the brilliant French perfumer who had captured his heart, had accepted his proposal and agreed to become his wife. Everything seemed perfect until the unthinkable happened. A perfect setup turns into a nightmare. The wedding day arrived with clear skies and warm sunshine streaming through the showroom's glass walls. Guests dressed in their finest filled the seats, chatting excitedly as classical music played softly in the background. Among the attendees were Ridge Forrester, Brooke Logan, Steffi Finnegan, and numerous colleagues and friends who had watched Carter and Daphne's relationship blossom over the past months. Carter stood at the altar in an impeccably tailored tuxedo, his face radiating pure joy. His best man, Ridge, stood beside him with an encouraging smile. "This is it, man," Ridge whispered. "You're finally doing this. Daphne's the one." "I know," Carter replied, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I've never been more certain about anything in my life. She understands me. She knows me better than anyone ever has." In the bridal preparation room, Daphne was putting the finishing touches on her appearance. She wore an exquisite white gown, a design that blended French elegance with modern sophistication. Her dark hair was elegantly styled, and she carried a bouquet of white roses and peonies. Her best friend and maid of honor, a cousin visiting from Los Angeles, adjusted her veil one final time. "You look absolutely stunning," her cousin said, embracing her carefully so as not to wrinkle the dress. "Carter is going to be speechless." Daphne smiled, though something in her eyes seemed distant. "Thank you," she said softly. "I'm ready. Let's go." The string quartet began playing Pachelbel's Canon as Daphne made her entrance. All eyes turned toward her as she walked down the aisle, each step deliberate and graceful. Carter's face lit up the moment he saw her. This was the moment they had both been waiting for. An unexpected interruption. Just as Daphne reached the altar and took Carter's hands, the glass doors at the entrance of the showroom suddenly burst open. A tall man with Mediterranean features, dressed in an expensive charcoal suit, strode purposefully into the venue. His expression was stern, almost angry, and his presence immediately commanded attention. The music stopped abruptly. Guests gasped and whispered to one another. Ridge's expression turned from joy to confusion in an instant. Steffi rose from her seat, her eyes widening in shock. The man approached the altar with determined steps. "Arates, stop this wedding immediately," he called out, his French accent thick and unmistakable. Carter released Daphne's hands and stepped forward, his initial confusion quickly turning to defensiveness. "Who are you? What's the meaning of this?" he demanded, his voice sharp. "This is a private ceremony. Security," he called out, signaling for building staff. The mysterious man came to a halt just feet away from the altar. He looked directly at Daphne, and his expression softened slightly, though his jaw remained clenched. "Daphne," he said, his voice now quieter, but no less intense. "We need to talk. Now." Daphne's face had gone completely pale. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped her bouquet. For a moment, she said nothing, and the silence in the room was deafening. "Do you know this man?" Carter asked, turning to look at his bride-to-be. His voice carried a mixture of confusion and concern. "The truth emerges." Daphne's eyes darted between Carter and the stranger. The color had completely drained from her face, and her lips parted as if to speak, but no words came out. This moment of hesitation, this split second of silence, told Carter everything he needed to know. "Yes," the man said, answering for her. "My name is Laurent Dupont, and this woman is my wife. We have been married for 4 years. She has no right to be marrying anyone." The words hit the room like an explosion. Gasps erupted from the guests. Brooke's hand flew to her mouth. Ridge stood up, his eyes narrowing as he assessed the situation. Steffi's expression shifted from shock to a look of justified concern, as if she had suspected all along that something about Daphne wasn't quite right. "That's impossible," Carter said, but his voice wavered slightly. He looked at Daphne again, desperately searching her face for a denial, for an explanation, for anything that would indicate this man was lying. "Daphne, tell him he's wrong. Tell him this is some kind of mistake." Daphne finally found her voice, though it was barely above a whisper. "Laurent, I didn't think you would ever. You didn't think I would find out." Laurent interrupted, his voice rising slightly. "You didn't think I would come here when I discovered you had fled to America and started a new life, a new career, a new love." He'd paused, shaking his head. "We may have had our problems, Daphne, but you are still my wife. You cannot simply erase that and build a new life with someone else without consequences." Steffi, who had worked closely with Daphne, stood up from her seat. "Is this true?" she asked, her voice cold and accusatory. "Were you married this whole time? While you were working at Forrester? While you were dating Carter?" Daphne finally turned to face everyone, and the tears that had been threatening to spill now streamed down her cheeks, ruining her carefully applied makeup. "Yes," she admitted, her voice small and broken. "Yes, it's true. I am married. I was married, but our marriage had ended in everything but name. We separated 2 years ago, and You didn't think that was important information to share?" Carter asked, his voice now filled with pain and anger. "You didn't think that, before accepting my proposal, before agreeing to marry me, before walking down that aisle, you should have told me that you already had a husband? Do you have any idea what you've done? The aftermath." Laurent extended his hand toward Daphne. "Come, we will discuss this matter at home, in private, not here, not like this." But Daphne didn't move. She stood frozen between two worlds: the man she had married in a moment of youthful passion years ago in Paris, and the man she had genuinely fallen in love with in Los Angeles. Neither of them was the answer to her problems. Both represented complications she had hoped to escape. "I can't," Daphne began, but her words were drowned out by the murmurs of the guests and the movement of people rising from their seats. Ridge placed a hand on Carter's shoulder. "We need to talk. All of us. Not here." He looked around the showroom at the flowers, the candles, the carefully arranged seating that had all been part of such a beautiful day, now turned into the setting for a catastrophe. Carter looked down at the wedding ring. He was still holding the ring he had planned to place on Daphne's finger just moments ago. He closed his fist around it, and the expression on his face transformed from hope and joy to heartbreak and betrayal. As security gently but firmly escorted Laurent and Daphne from the showroom, Carter stood at the altar in his tuxedo, surrounded by wilting flowers and broken dreams. Behind him, Brooke and Steffi exchanged knowing glances, both realizing that Daphne's carefully constructed facade had finally cracked, revealing something far more complicated beneath. The wedding that was supposed to be the beginning of Carter and Daphne's happily ever after had instead become the explosive end of their relationship, leaving everyone at Forrester Creations to wonder, who was Daphne Rose really, and how much of what she had shared with them had been a lie. Next, we will learn about the explosive mystery surrounding Dylan that has captured the attention of every bold and the beautiful enthusiast across the nation. The burning question on everyone's lips revolves around this enigmatic homeless art teacher whose past remains shrouded in secrecy, and the shocking possibility that she could be connected to one of the most dangerous villains in soap opera history. The Dylan mystery deepens. For several weeks now, dedicated fans of the bold and the beautiful have found themselves consumed by endless speculation regarding Dylan's true identity and the concealed chapters of her mysterious background. The character has become a fixture on the CBS daytime drama, yet something fundamental about her story continues to elude viewers. Executive producer Bradley Bell has made it crystal clear that Dylan isn't just a temporary character passing through Los Angeles. She's officially on contract, and will be maintaining a permanent presence in the storyline for the foreseeable future. However, despite this commitment to the character, the show's writing team has deliberately chosen to withhold one crucial piece of information that most characters receive upon introduction: her last name. This strategic omission has sparked countless conversations in online fan communities and social media platforms. Why would the writers intentionally keep such basic information hidden from the audience? In the world of soap operas, where family connections and bloodlines form the backbone of virtually every major storyline, a missing surname isn't just unusual, it's practically unheard of. This deliberate choice by the creative team suggests that Dylan's full identity carries significant weight and likely connects to established characters in ways that would fundamentally alter how viewers perceive her current actions and motivations. Suspicious behavior raises red flags. As the weeks progress and Dylan continues to integrate herself into the fabric of Los Angeles society, her behavior has begun exhibiting increasingly peculiar patterns that have set off alarm bells among longtime viewers. The art teacher, who initially appeared to be nothing more than a struggling homeless woman trying to rebuild her life, now displays actions and reactions that suggest something far more complex lurking beneath the surface. Her mannerisms, her carefully chosen words, and the way she navigates social situations all point towards someone with hidden agendas and concealed knowledge. The question that continues to dominate viewer discussion centers on whether the time has arrived to seriously consider a theory that would send shockwaves through the entire bold and beautiful universe. Could Dylan actually be a direct descendant of the show's most notorious and psychologically unstable villain, Sheila? This possibility, once dismissed as too outlandish by some fans, has gained tremendous traction as Dylan's strange behavior continues to mount. The parallels between Dylan's mysterious circumstances and Sheila's pattern of manipulation and deception become harder to ignore with each passing episode. Internet theories run wild. The digital landscape has become a breeding ground for speculation, with one particularly popular fan theory dominating message boards and social media discussions. According to this widespread belief, the production team has strategically concealed Dylan's surname specifically because revealing it would immediately expose her connection to one of the show's core families. This wouldn't be the first time Bold and Beautiful has employed such tactics. Soap operas have a rich history of introducing mysterious characters whose true identities reshape entire storylines once revealed. Numerous rumors circulating through fan communities suggest increasingly bold possibilities. Some theorists have proposed that Dylan could carry the Spencer name, making her part of the powerful media dynasty that has dominated Los Angeles business circles for decades. Others speculate she might actually be a Forrester by blood, which would position her as a legitimate heir to the fashion empire and potentially create explosive conflict over inheritance and legacy. Either revelation would certainly inject fascinating complications into the existing power dynamics and romantic entanglements that drive the show's narrative forward. However, the latest spoilers emerging from inside sources hint at something even more shocking and psychologically complex. Dylan might actually be the long-lost daughter of the completely unhinged Sheila herself. The Massimo Marone connection. Devoted viewers who have followed The Bold and The Beautiful through its decades-long run will undoubtedly remember the twisted saga involving Sheila's obsessive fixation on Massimo Marone, the powerful businessman who served as the Forrester family's primary rival during a tumultuous period in the show's history. This wasn't just a casual romantic interest. Sheila's behavior toward Massimo reached truly disturbing levels that showcased the full extent of her psychological instability and dangerous determination. Back in 2003, during what many fans consider one of the show's most unpredictable eras, Sheila exhibited even more extreme behavior than her already notorious reputation would suggest. In a moment that shocked audiences nationwide, she suddenly appeared without warning at Massimo's doorstep, catching the businessman completely off guard with a life-altering announcement. Sheila declared herself pregnant with his child, and shortly thereafter, she gave birth to a baby girl whom she named Diana. The arrival of this innocent child thrust into such chaotic circumstances created immediate emotional complexity that rippled through multiple storylines. Massimo's reaction to discovering he had fathered a daughter mixed genuine shock with legitimate fear about what Sheila's involvement meant for the child's future. Understanding the woman's violent history and unstable mental state, he immediately attempted to have Sheila arrested by authorities, hoping to secure custody of Diana and protect her from her mother's dangerous influence. However, true to her pattern of always staying one step ahead of consequences, Sheila managed to evade capture in spectacular fashion. She disappeared with baby Diana into the night, and remarkably, neither mother nor daughter has been seen or mentioned in the years since that dramatic exit. Their whereabouts became one of bold and beautiful's enduring mysteries, filed away in the show's extensive archive of unresolved storylines. The timeline adds up perfectly. When examining the timeline with careful attention to detail, the pieces of this puzzle begin fitting together in remarkably convincing fashion. If Sheila gave birth to Diana during that fateful year in 2003, simple mathematics places Diana in her early 20s by current-day standards, precisely matching Dylan's apparent age range. This numerical alignment represents far more than mere coincidence when considered within the context of soap opera storytelling, where writers frequently plant seeds years in advance before harvesting them for maximum dramatic impact. The homeless art teacher Dylan presents as someone exactly that age, navigating the challenges of early adulthood while mysteriously lacking the typical support systems and family connections most people her age would reference casually. Her isolation and apparent disconnection from any established roots could easily be explained by a childhood spent on the run with an unstable mother, constantly moving to avoid detection and never establishing permanent ties anywhere. Growing up as Sheila's daughter would inevitably shape someone in profound and potentially disturbing ways, perhaps explaining Dylan's odd behavioral patterns that viewers have increasingly noticed. The Luna connection becomes darker. Perhaps the most chilling development in this unfolding mystery centers on Dylan's direct involvement in one of the show's most tragic recent events. Dylan was behind the wheel of the vehicle that struck and killed Luna Nozawa, Sheila's granddaughter, through her son Finn. This fatal accident initially appeared as a terrible coincidence, a random tragedy that unfortunately linked to strangers through circumstances beyond their control. However, if the theory about Dylan's true identity proves accurate, the entire incident takes on horrifyingly darker implications that transform our understanding of what actually transpired. Did Luna unknowingly meet her end at the hands of her own aunt? The possibility introduces questions about whether the accident was truly random or if some unconscious family connection influenced events in ways nobody has yet understood. In the twisted world of soap opera destiny, such dark familial ironies often prove intentional rather than coincidental. The thought that these two young women, both carrying Sheila's genetic legacy, crossed paths in such devastating fashion adds layers of tragedy to an already heartbreaking situation. Striking similarities between Dylan and Luna. Ever since Dylan first appeared on screen in Los Angeles, eagle-eyed fans have been drawing attention to unmistakable similarities between her and the late Luna Nozawa. The resemblance extends beyond mere physical appearance, though they certainly share certain facial features and body language into deeper behavioral patterns and personality traits that suggest common genetic heritage. Both women display similar mannerisms when stressed, comparable ways of processing emotional situations, and shared tendencies in how they communicate with others around them. If Dylan's true identity is indeed Diana Carter Marone, these parallels suddenly make perfect logical sense from both narrative and biological perspectives. After all, both young women would share the same grandmother in Sheila, inheriting aspects of her distinctive personality and physical traits through their respective parents. They represent different branches of the same corrupted family tree, both carrying DNA from one of daytime television's most complex and dangerous characters. The fact that viewers instinctively recognize their similarities before knowing any potential familial connection speaks to how carefully the casting department and writers have crafted this reveal. The question everyone wants answered. The central mystery that has captivated the bold and beautiful audience essentially boils down to one crucial question that demands resolution. Do longtime viewers remember the dramatic episode when Sheila first introduced baby Diana to the world? That infant, cradled in her unstable mother's arms over 2 decades ago, represented both innocence and potential danger, a new life born into circumstances that virtually guaranteed future complications. Could that helpless baby, whose fate has remained unknown for so many years, have grown into the troubled young woman now walking the streets of Los Angeles as Dylan the art teacher? The evidence continues mounting with each new episode, creating an increasingly compelling case for this shocking revelation. From the deliberately concealed surname to the suspicious behavior patterns, from the perfectly aligned timeline to the tragic connection with Luna, every element points toward a truth that would fundamentally reshape multiple ongoing storylines. If Dylan is indeed baby Diana, her arrival in Los Angeles represents far more than a random homeless woman seeking help. It marks the return of Sheila's hidden legacy, complete with all the psychological complexity and potential danger that entails. This reveal would honor the show's history while opening exciting new narrative possibilities that could sustain storylines for months or even years to come.